The Galactic Council chambers were filled with tension. For centuries, the Terran Federation had endured insults, exploitation, and impossible demands. For centuries, they had bitten their tongues, choosing diplomacy over war. For centuries, they had negotiated, compromised, and bent, but never broke. Until today. Because today, the Galactic Council had pushed too far. And now, humanity was done talking. The demand that shattered everything. The motion has passed. The words echoed across the chamber. Supreme Chancellor Verithus, leader of the Galactic Council, stood before the assembly, his expression smug. Effective immediately, he continued, all Terran colonies are to be placed under direct council control. This is non-negotiable. A cold silence followed. In the center of the chamber, Fleet Commander Elias Rourke sat at the Terran delegations table. His jaw clenched. His hands tightened into fists. His face remained emotionless. But his eyes? His eyes burned with fury. The Council's arrogance. The alien representatives murmured amongst themselves. To them, this was just another political maneuver. Another display of dominance over the upstart humans. For decades, the Galactic Council had treated the Terran Federation as a minor species. Even after humanity had proven their strength in battle. Even after they had pushed back invasions no other race had survived. Even after they had tamed death worlds no one dared to approach. The Council still saw them as inferior. And now, they had made their final mistake. They had demanded that humanity surrender its colonies. That humanity hand over their worlds. That humanity submit. The last words spoken in the Council. The chamber doors sealed shut. The murmuring ceased. Every delegate turned their attention to Commander Rourke, waiting for his reaction. "You're quiet, human," sneered Chancellor Verithus. "No arguments, no protests, no long-winded speeches about fairness and justice." The Terran officer stood, slowly, deliberately. His boots echoed against the pristine floors as he stepped forward. He didn't speak immediately. He simply stared. And when he finally did speak, his voice was calm, steady, and final. "No." Verithus' brow furrowed. "No." Rourke tilted his head. "You just made the biggest mistake in the history of this council," he said, voice devoid of emotion. "And you don't even realize it yet." The council members scoffed. "You are outnumbered, human," an alien delegate sneered. "The Terran Federation will obey." "No," Rourke repeated, cutting him off. "Humanity will not obey. Humanity will not negotiate. Humanity will not recognize this council anymore." The room froze. A delegate stood in protest. "That would be an act of treason." Rourke's lips curled slightly. "No," he said. "That would be an act of war." And then, the lights cut out. A second later, the emergency alarms blared. And the Galactic Council realized they had just lost control. Humanity leaves the table. The chamber doors burst open, revealing a squad of Terran Blackguard soldiers. Heavily armored. Fully armed. Expressionless. The alien delegates panicked. "What is this?" Verithus shrieked, his voice laced with fear. "You would dare." "We don't need your permission," Rourke interrupted, his voice cold. "We're leaving." The Terran delegation walked out of the council chamber. Not hurried. Not fearful. Not concerned. But calm. Because this wasn't a retreat. This was a declaration. The last warning the galaxy would ever receive. And as they left, the final message from Earth echoed through the council speakers. A simple, four-word transmission. "We do not kneel." The message ended. The Terrans were gone. And for the first time in history, the Galactic Council felt fear. The Galactic Council chamber remained in stunned silence. The Terrans were gone. Their seats were empty. Their last transmission still echoed through the hall. "We do not kneel." It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a plea. It was a fact. And the Council had ignored it for too long. Now they would pay the price. The immediate fallout. Chancellor Verithus slammed his clawed fist onto the podium. "They have no choice but to return." He snapped, his voice laced with frustration. "Their entire species is bound to this council's laws." Silence. No one agreed, because everyone in the room knew the truth. The Terrans had just walked out of the most powerful governing body in the galaxy, and they had done so without hesitation. "This is treason," an ambassador hissed. "We must prepare economic sanctions immediately." A diplomatic officer from the Zendari Republic exhaled sharply. "Sanctions?" he muttered. "Do you really think that will work?" The room turned to him. "The humans control nearly half the galactic shipping lanes," he continued. "They hold exclusive energy contracts with over 30 colonies. And let's not forget, their warships are unmatched." The realization set in. The Galactic Council had not abandoned humanity. Humanity had abandoned them. And now the galaxy would see what that truly meant. The silent rebellion begins. Within hours, chaos spread through the Council's territories. Circled bullet the trade collapse. Terran freight ships vanished from the hyperlanes. Stations that once relied on human-engineered reactors suddenly found themselves facing power failures. Entire supply chains crumbled, leaving hundreds of planets scrambling for resources. Circled bullet the political cracks. Member states, long resentful of the Council's tyranny, began questioning their loyalty. The Varkesh Union and the Tarini clan suspended their diplomatic ties, demanding to know what had driven humanity away. Rebel factions once kept in check by the Council's iron grip found their moment to rise. The Galactic Council had always assumed humanity was just another species. A tool to be controlled. A resource to be exploited. A nuisance to be silenced. But now, they were realizing the terrible truth. Humanity had been holding the galaxy together. And now that they were gone, it was all starting to fall apart. The military threat. "Summon the high generals." Veradis roared. "We must prepare the fleets." The Council's military leaders gathered. But there was no confidence in their eyes. Because while the Council had numbers, humanity had the advantage. Their fleets were smaller, but far more advanced. Their soldiers were fierce, disciplined, and battle-tested. And their commanders were not bound by bureaucracy or fear. "If it comes to war," Admiral Jorvek muttered, "we may not win." "Nonsense!" Veradis snapped. "We are the dominant force in this galaxy." But no one believed that anymore. Because deep down, even Veradis knew the truth. "Sir," an officer whispered, "we have just received a transmission from the Terran Federation." "Play it," Veradis ordered. The screen flickered to life. A single human stood there. Fleet Commander Elias Rourke. His expression was calm. His voice was steady. His words sealed the Council's fate. "Your rule is over. You wanted control. Now you have nothing." The screen cut out. The message was clear. This wasn't just a rebellion. This was the beginning of the Council's end. The Galactic Council had ruled unchallenged for centuries. They had dictated laws. They had enforced order. They had commanded obedience. But now, the order was crumbling, and humanity was the one holding the hammer. The first open rebellion. The collapse began with whispers. Whispers that turned into debates. Debates that turned into riots. Riots that turned into war. Because the moment humanity walked away, others began to follow. Circled bullet the Varkesh Union declares independence. The Varkesh, a warrior species, had always resented the Council's rule. When they learned humanity had left, they severed all ties with the Council. If the Terrans refused to kneel, why should we? Circled bullet the outer colonies revolt. The mining colonies once controlled by the Council rose up. Factory workers, soldiers, and traders, long abused, turned their weapons on their overlords. Entire planets fell to rebellion within days. Circled bullet the Tarini war fleets go dark. The Tarini clans, feared across the stars, had once been forced into submission by the Council. But now, their ships vanished from known space. And when they returned, they weren't allies anymore. The Galactic Council had spent decades controlling the galaxy through fear. But now that fear belonged to them. The message humanity sent. The Council's last hope was diplomacy. They sent envoys to the Terran Federation. They begged for a meeting. They pleaded for negotiations. Humanity answered. But it was not the answer they expected. A single transmission arrived at the Council's war room. The screen flickered. Fleet Commander Elias Rourke appeared once more. His expression was unreadable. His voice was cold. You wanted control. Now you have none. You wanted obedience. Now no one listens to you. You wanted humanity to kneel. Now you kneel before us. The council chamber was silent. Rourke leaned forward. His final words shattered the last illusions of power the council had. This is not a negotiation. This is your extinction. The screen cut out. And for the first time in history, the Galactic Council knew what it was like to feel helpless. The last attempt at war. Desperation breeds foolishness. And the Council, in their arrogance, made one last, terrible mistake. They declared war. They sent a fleet to Earth. Hundreds of ships. Thousands of soldiers. Weapons charged. They thought humanity would break. Instead, they watched their fleet disappear. Not destroyed. Not shot down. Not even challenged. The moment the Council's armada entered Terran space, it simply vanished. No transmissions. No distress signals. No escape pods. It was as if the entire fleet had never existed. And when the Council demanded answers, humanity sent one final message. Don't send another fleet, or we'll come to you next. The war ended before it even began. And the Galactic Council finally understood. They had spent centuries believing they ruled the galaxy. But in truth, humanity had always been holding back. And now, they weren't holding back anymore. The Galactic Council chamber was silent. The room that once governed the galaxy, that once dictated the fate of entire species, that once commanded absolute obedience, was now a tomb. Because humanity had stopped listening. And now so had the rest of the galaxy. The final transmission. The Council's greatest fleets were gone. Their trade collapsed. Their armies scattered. Their once loyal colonies had turned against them. And now, a final message arrived from the Terran Federation. The screen flickered on. Fleet Commander Elias Rourke appeared one last time. Your time is over. You control the galaxy through fear, through corruption, through arrogance. You believed no one could challenge you. Now you rule over nothing. Veritas, once the Supreme Chancellor, now a desperate man, stepped forward. Wait, he stammered. We can rebuild. We can work together. We can. Rourke's expression did not change. You misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. This is a reckoning. And with that, the transmission ended. And so did the Galactic Council. The Council's final moments. The former rulers of the galaxy sat in stunned silence. They had always believed humanity was lesser, that humanity would never defy them, that humanity needed them. Now the truth was clear. They had never ruled humanity. Humanity had simply allowed them to believe they did. And now that the Terrans were done playing the game was over. The last days of the Council. One by one, the remaining member states abandoned the Council. The Varkesh Union withdrew first. The Tarini war clans seized border worlds. The outer colonies declared full independence. Within a week, half the Council's territories were lost. Within a month, the remaining member states collapsed into war. And within a year, the once mighty Galactic Council ceased to exist. No invasion. No great battle. No war. Humanity had simply walked away. And without them, the Council had crumbled into dust. The new order. The galaxy still needed order. It still needed leadership. It still needed stability. And so, a new power rose. Not a council. Not an empire. A federation. A federation that did not rule by fear. A federation that did not enforce control through arrogance. A federation that led with strength. A federation that had no patience for tyranny. And at its center, humanity. The Terran Federation. The true rulers of the stars. The ones who never kneeled. Final message from Earth. Years later, in the ruins of the once great Galactic Council chamber, an automated transmission played. It was the last message humanity ever sent to the Council's remains. It contained only 5 words. Words that would be remembered forever. We told you to stop. Final thought. The empire that never knew it was already dead. The Galactic Council had ruled for centuries. They believed they were untouchable. They believed humanity was weak. They believed the galaxy needed them. But the truth? The truth was far worse. Humanity had been holding back. Humanity had been watching. Humanity had been waiting. And the moment the Council pushed too far, they learned what it meant to lose everything. No war. No invasion. No great battle. Just a single moment of realization. That without humanity, the Council was nothing. And now they were gone. Forever. The end. Rocket fire.